Guys, so today I'm going to show you guys the different preservation methods for preserving leaves. This will be very important for you when it comes to doing your nature journals. And I'm going to do them in order of like cost efficiency. So the ones that are the cheapest to do towards the ones that are more expensive to do. And you don't really have to do all of them. A lot of them are like tried and true methods. A couple of them are some that are experimental that the results of are actually being like the experiments are being done now, and we're going to try out and see how it turns out within the next week or so. Now, first I'm going to switch you guys to my iPad. So let me remove this pen and pin that. All right. So one of the first methods and the most known method that everyone's at least heard of at some point is the press and dry method. And it's essentially where you take your plant leaf and you close it in a book and you let it sit there for a week. So what you need for this is first you need a paper towel or any absorbent paper you have. So newspaper would work as well. If you have tissue paper left over from a gift that was given to you, use that. But you're going to make sure you take your leaf and completely enclose it in the paper towel. Right, so once you have that in there, you're going to then want to take a sheet of paper, and I do recommend recycling paper. So something that's already been written on or used at some point. So you just take your paper, and just like you did with the paper towel, you're going to want to completely enclose the leaf in the paper. And at this point, you can just take your book, smack it in there, and let that sit for a full week. That is one of the longer methods. Another method that is done is actually preserving your leaves in PVA. And PVA is polyvinyl alcohol, but it's commonly found in different types of glue. So if you have any like white school glue, that would work perfectly. The higher quality glue you have, the better the final result is. So I would actually recommend craft glue. Now, this is the kind of craft glue I use. It's just your typical tacky glue, and it works for just about all types of materials. So normally this glue is pretty expensive. However, I have found out that they sell it at Dollar Tree now. It comes in a 3-ounce bottle, which is like the one I have here, and it's just $1. Now, like I said, you can use any school glue you already have. So if you just have some Elmer's glue, that will work. So you don't have to worry about buying any extra material if you already have something. So the way this one works is there we go. All right, is you'll take your leaf, you put a little bit of glue on it, and make sure you coat the surface completely with the glue. So you just want to make sure you spread it all the way across the surface. And once it dries, make sure you do the other side as well. If I could get this one to spread, okay. All right, and then we'll set this over here so it can dry. So with this method, it'll actually keep its flexibility quite well. And you're gonna wanna do like 1 or 2 coats. So this is a leaf that I did earlier today. And you can see like the glossy sheen on it compared to just the plain leaf. And this was just with 1 coat, so I will be doing a second coat on it. And we'll move on to the next method. Now, a lot of people have considered lamination for plant preservation, for just doing leaves. And laminating, like one, they'll put it through a laminating machine, which are expensive on their own. Another way that they try to do it is using clear contact paper, which I recently discovered is $6 a roll. Now, while that may not seem much to some people, we're trying to do this without having to break the bank. So what I do recommend is just some simple clear packing tape that you can get for about $1 at Walmart or Dollar Tree, wherever you need to go to get it. And what you do is you'll take your clear tape, get it off my finger. You'll take the leaf you're trying to preserve. And since this is a larger leaf, I will be getting a second piece of tape. It doesn't go over the edge, it doesn't look like, but I'll reinforce the edges just in case. So you're gonna wanna make sure you get all of the air out, because if you leave any air in there, air bubbles will form and it will end up oxidizing and turning your leaf brown. And we're trying to preserve the pretty green color. So once you have one layer of tape down, you'll take a second piece of tape, or if it's a smaller piece, you'll just fold it over. And you'll just do the same where you put it on there and push out as much air as you can. Now with this method, since it's fully set, you don't have to wait the long period of time for it to cure. And it's preserved in the tape. So like I said, I will be going and reinforcing the edge with some extra tape just to be safe. Just going to this edge. Just to be safe on that edge, because it did look like it was close. And this would easily be able to go straight into your nature journal. And you can do this with flowers. I'd recommend thinner flowers, and then compared to roses, because of all of the air that would be inside a rose. But after you have this set, you can actually go and trim all of your excess. Missing an air bubble right around the stem. There we go. That way you have maximized space in your journal. All right. So the next method is actually using a desiccant. And if you don't know what a desiccant is, you've most likely seen them before if you eat anything like beef jerky, or if you ever saw those little packs and things with new shoes in it and it says do not eat. That's because that's normally made with silica gel, and silica gel is something that absorbs moisture, and it'll also pull oxygen out of different things, which is why if you eat it, it can suffocate you from the inside. So please don't eat it. Now, silica gel isn't easy to find in most more rural areas. You can find it in florist shops, and that's in bigger cities. So another desiccant that can be used is kitty litter. So I have a little trick. And seeing that I don't have my cat with me anymore, I just found some cheap kitty litter at Dollar Tree. And it's the kind that's supposed to be able to clump, meaning that it will absorb the water. So what you're gonna do is you do it in layers. You just pour some into a container. You wanna put your leaves in there. If you do flowers, you'll do them face down, and I'll show you what it would look like. So you put your you put your leaves in, and then pour more on top. You want to flatten that. And you can do another layer after that. We're going to just leave it as a single layer. And that'll dry it out in about 3 to 5 days, since it's a smaller sample. But I will be leaving it in there for a full week just to be safe. And kitty litter can run anywhere from like $1, like the kind I just got, but you'd also need an extra container. And it can get quite expensive if you want the higher quality kind. But for this, we were just using a cheaper, more cost-efficient quality. Now, I did mention that you can do it with flowers. And if you do it with a flower, you want to make sure that the top part of the flower is going down. And this one actually needs more kitty litter on top of it because you want to fully submerge the bulb of the flower. And as you can see, this rose is trying to peek out just a little bit. All right. All right. So the last method that we have that we're going to talk about today is actually preserving leaves in resin. So resin is a material that starts off as a liquid, and as it hardens, it turns into a glassy solid, meaning that it has it has a high strength, and it's also optically clear. So it's completely transparent unless you add some form of colorant. Now, epoxy resin comes in two parts. You have a hardener and you have your resin. And I did not grab a mixing cup. Hold on 1 second. All right. So what you're going to need is something to mix it in, which I just have the bottom part of a water bottle because it was sitting in my room when I was watering my plants. Then you'll need a mixing device, and I want to use the popsicle stick from the glue because the glue on it has dried. Sadly, my leaf isn't completely dry yet. When it dries, I'll just smooth it out with a piece of paper. Now, resin is known to cause like skin irritation in some people. So when working with resin, it's best to wear gloves. So I have these gloves just for safety. So the type of resin I have is a 50-50 ratio resin, meaning I have 50% hardener, 50% resin, and it's not a weight ratio, but a volume ratio. Meaning if I have 5 ounces of resin, I need 5 ounces of hardener, and not by weight. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour and mix that. Now, there are 2 ways you can do this part. You can either smooth it out onto a piece of thick plastic because the plastic will peel away, or you can dip it and hang the leaves up somewhere. But you're gonna want something under it so where if it drips, it'll catch it. So I'm gonna go ahead and pause the video and pick up recording after I finish mixing this. Now that our resin is mixed, I do want to note that resin is an exothermic material, meaning that as it mixes and settles, it heats up. So if you're not careful, it will start heating up an exotherm in your cup. But once it starts heating up at that point, it actually speeds up its setting process and it'll start to cure. And cure is just when it starts to go through its hardening phase. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna actually dip the leaves first. So I have these binder clips. Oops, there we go. And they're smiling at you because they're happy to help you learn. we're gonna take 2 leaves and clip them to a binder clip. All right. And we're going to take our little thing of resin, and we're going to just make sure we completely coat the leaf in the resin. So the reason, after this, you're going to want something that you can reliably set this in to where when it continues to drip, it won't spill over all of your stuff, because resin is kind of hard to get off of different materials. And the best way to do it is to scrape up as much as you can and then clean the area with rubbing alcohol. So now that that's slowed down to a low drip, I just have this like half a tea-gallon jug, and I stuck the stem of the rose through it so I'd have something to hold it. Transfer it into here, and using a push pin, I'm just going to have it to hold the binder clip up. As you can see, the leaf is able to hang in and drip down, and it will be able to set. And resin takes 8 hours to cure. Well, a 50-50 epoxy resin takes 8 hours to cure. We're going to do this again with another leaf. This one's going to be smaller. All right. And like I said, you want to get it fully coated. And if your resin has like small bubbles in it, the bubbles will, like if you're doing like coatings, it will pop as it goes. But if you're trying to pour it into a mold, it will need to have something to bring it out. So you're going to want to tap it. Okay. So take another pin and just push that there. All right. So now we have 2 leaves that are coated in resin that are being left to hang. Now, another method using resin is to actually pour a coating out and put the leaf down. So first, we're going to clean this plastic because it has a couple of other things on it, like glue. We're just going to take some rubbing alcohol. I do believe this one's isopropyl. And we're just going to wipe this down. That way it'll pick up any debris or any water, because you do not actually want to get water in your resin. It'll cause a bubbling effect and it won't be clear. All right. So once you have your space clean, you'll just pour your resin down and spread it into whichever shape you want to put it in. I'm just going to go for like a rectangular shape. All right. Different now. And then you're going to put your leaves down. So when you put leaves into resin, you're going to want to put them face down so that the good side is down, meaning that the top of it's going to be a little bit bumpier, or the back of it's going to be a little bumpier because you're pouring more on top. So it's not always going to go on as smoothly as you'd like. So just going to tap that down and try my best to make sure I don't get any air under it. Now, the reason these keep curving up is because they were in a bag, so the leaves are a little curly. But after that, you're going to go and pour more resin on the back. And again, you're going to want to make sure that it's fully coated. Now, when doing resin, you won't be able to put flowers into resin because flowers will still wilt in that 8-hour period. And it won't be as pretty after a few days. However, it's a little different with leaves because the leaves will keep and maintain the majority of their coloring. Now, what you could also do if you wanted to preserve leaves for, just to make something into a gift for someone that you really care about, you could get a silicone mold of almost anything. And I'll just pour this on top. You can get a silicone mold, that way it'll still release out of it. And you can put almost anything into the mold. So in class, I actually did a mold of a coaster. And it's still currently setting, but I'll bring it over so you guys can see it. Here it is. It is a coaster mold with leaves in it. And that's been setting for about 3 hours now. No, what the final product looks like is this. As you can see, it's completely transparent, and you can see the leaves in there nicely. Now, once you take it out the mold, you will want to let it sit somewhere flat because it is slightly flexible. And after another day or two, it will be completely solid. But here's the other mold, or the other set. And as you can see, like the tips of it have stuck out, but you can fix that by just sanding it. They are still coated with the resin. They're just sticking out because, like I said earlier, the leaf was a little curvy. All right, guys. And when you're doing the glue method, make sure you do both sides of the leaf. Now, if you have any questions, you can either drop it in the comment section or you can message me on any of our class, or any of our class contact points. All right, guys, you have a great day.